and welcome. This is Business Edge right here on News Central. I'm Tolulope, Adeleru-Balogun. First, the headlines. AI FinChatBot startup secures $1.6 million investment. Automobile startup ServiceMyCar gets $311,000 in seed funding. So you obviously, today is a tech conversation as it may be. We'll be wrapping things up with NC4 to watch and also showing you a clip of an interview we had with the CEO of a tech startup. This is Business Edge. Welcome. Investors have swung in and offered Johannesburg-based AI fintech startup FinChatBot a $1.6 million grant to help expand its expansion into West Africa and Europe. FinChatBot got the grant from Kalon Venture Partners, a leading South African venture capitalist, the Mauritius-based Compass Venture Capital, and French investment holding company Saviu Ventures. FinChatBot co-founder and CEO Antoine Pelusier said that we are grateful for the support of our investors who believe in our vision to become the leader when considering selling and servicing financial products with the use of conversational AI solutions. By implementing our solutions, he adds that financial service providers can double their conversion rates, reduce operational costs by more than 60%, retain customers better, and gather more data about customers, which can aid product innovation and customer retention. This funding will go into expanding the creation of conversational AI solutions for the financial services industry into West Africa and Europe. In addition, it will aid the growth of FinChatBot's team by a reported 50 employees in various sectors of the company, including project management, skills in engineering, sales, and more. Now joining me to discuss this is Abdulateef Ahmed, researcher for News Central TV. Abdulateef, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So let's look at this situation we see where we're seeing the rise of the machines, a lot of cloud computing, cloud engineering, AI, machinery, and conversations now happening here on the continent. Could we see this as another breakthrough for Africa in terms of how to speed up our development and then even focus on our development in our technology base?
Totally. Africa has the youngest population in the world, and young people would rather use their mobile phones to access solutions to their personal problems, and therefore AI comes in interaction with computers and the need for automation, because you cannot solve problems of a lot of people, 24/7 all time of the day. But what you have now is this demography, these young people demography is able to key into solutions that are being provided by some of these solutions in order to improve customer behavior, customer experience. So it is a positive thing.
So what is this about conversational AI? AI is just artificial intelligence, and many people for many years have said it can only be as smart as we make it. But we're seeing situations with algorithms and different kind of formulas that are giving AI almost, it's growing, it's learning on its own, machine learning as it may be. So what is this aspect of conversational AI that we're hearing about through the grant that FinChatBot's received?
Okay, so FinChat will provide solutions, for financial service providers. However, unlike traditional financial service providers who you have to walk into some of these premises to make your complaints, and then because the way you have complaints by younger people differ slightly, or differ a lot from how older people make their complaints. The conversational AI assumes or understands how younger people interact, or how younger people rather access solutions. For example, if you walk into a bank, there's a tendency for a younger person to be to want to have solutions to his problem, quickly, without, not having all the patience, for all the
paperwork or the lines and the queues.
So conversational AI allows, talks like the Gen Z, talks in a way that makes the interaction between the user and the bot itself to be a bit smoother. So that is what it is. Ordinarily, the aspect of the use of AI that a lot of people may wonder about is artificial intelligence, where you think you don't know this person, how are you able to relate with this person like he's someone close to you? But it's able to predict, anticipate, considering certain algorithm and phone usage and other consumer behavior to predict how this user of this mobile device may want to be offered services.
Okay, so what we also know about FinChatBot is that it currently services more than 20 top-tier financial service providers, including banks and insurance, and it helps them to sell and service financial products without human intervention. And I have a question coming on that. But before that, to date, the company has raised about $4.3 million in funding. So we see a lot of AI, a lot of startup, fintech is now a thing, insurtech is now a thing, insurance technology. Yeah. So a lot of things are happening in the financial services sector. And we know across the continent, a lot of people remain unbanked. Unfortunately, financial services and products may not be meeting the needs that they have. Are we expecting more of a bigger boom, more attention in the financial services sector across the continent as traditional lenders and traditional players in that sphere try to capture this young generation, this Gen Z, the millennial? What comes after Gen Z now? Yes. The Sorosoke generation, as Nigerians might say.
There's going to be a higher boom, you know, in the demand for fintech and fintech solutions, because unlike traditional banks that may not offer services in some aspects for which a lot of people remain unbanked, you have these solutions, you know, providing specific solutions to specific problems. For example, you have crowdfunding, where young people have a campaign about a certain thing and they want to fund it. Traditional banks will have to go through a lot of
collateral, asking for your firstborn, but everything.
Exactly. But fintech tells you, okay, you own a phone, you are a bank, essentially, because you have everything a bank can offer you. So you don't have a collateral, you don't have a known address. Well, you have GPS locations, and we can map certain things about you for which we can provide you with solutions. So solution-specific problems are being addressed by these services, and that is going to ensure a boom, a rise in the demand for fintech solutions.
So let's get to what might unfortunately be a problem. Part of the things that solutions such as FinChatBots bring about are, like they said, reduce operational costs by more than 60%. And a lot of operational costs for many companies are people, physical staff. And this is also a service that requires no human intervention.
Yeah.
So if a company picks up FinChatBot as a service to use, it's going to, unfortunately, at a point in time, lay off some staff. So we need to look at that. How are we anticipating the market reacting to the fact that with AI, with all the technology coming into various sectors, we're going to see numbers of people laid off because their roles are simply no longer tenable. There is a machine to do what they're doing.
Yeah, so what it means for me, I think, is there's a lot of market that is yet to be captured by our financial service providers. If you look at one of the biggest fintech companies, Alipay, it's just a subsidiary of Alibaba, for example. It offers services to a young, thriving population that are constantly in need of solving a problem. Now, in Nigeria, for example, you have an unbanked population of about 35 to 40 million. What are our banks doing about it? So if the chatbot will solve a problem of this population, for example, it means that you can repurpose people who ordinarily will be in the banks to do other things, provide other services that are not necessarily directly in line with what they used to do. For example, what are we doing, for example, to offer mortgage services to younger people? Does it mean that once you're less than 20, you do not have a chance to own a house or a land, for example?
Yeah.
So if you're able to look at problems before they come, you are able to project into the future of things and say, well, we assume or we hope that in next 10 to 20 years, this demography is going to have these problems, and we are solving these problems by providing these solutions. People have a lot of issues with personal finance or saving.
Yeah.
So you have, fintech solutions that are saying, well, we know you can't take your time to save, or because you have access to your finances, you can always make withdrawals. Okay, we're creating this solution for you, for which you cannot access withdrawal until after 6 months or until after 1 year.
So they help you in that saving culture.
Save,
yeah.
So these are some of the things. So banks will have to do better than they do at the moment.
The competition is fierce, and that competition is for your money, for your services, of course, to also be able to provide solutions to our daily needs. How is that all going to play out, particularly here on the African continent, with the context we have in terms of sometimes starting up and taking in technology as well as regulatory issues as they may be? We're going to continue the conversation around startups and technology. When we come back after the break, another South African startup has secured $311,000 in seed funding. The details after this. A South African startup, ServiceMyCar, has secured $311,000 in seed funding. The firm is on online marketplace, or rather an online marketplace for vehicle maintenance and repairs. The company is the brainchild of Athol and Aidan Quinn, a father and son team who started in 2019 and went commercial in August 2020. Now, ServiceMyCar offers its customers numerous quotations for vehicle repairs and other services from various workshops located in the customer's area, and allows them to book the vehicle in on a selected date at a selected workshop. It also offers customers the privilege of making informed decisions on which workshop they would opt for to have their vehicle serviced at. It is providing structure to a previously unstructured marketplace. Customers face the challenge of finding a trustworthy, transparent, and cost-effective workshop, while workshops, both franchises and non-franchise, face the challenge of increasing volume, securing bookings, and having reliable customer support. ServiceMyCar's workshop partner network consists of 70 independent and original equipment manufacturer workshops situated within the Western Cape. The startup is nursing plans to expand to Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal before the end of 2020. Aidan Quinn explained, "We also plan on expanding into the rest of Africa, particularly Nigeria, Botswana, and Namibia. Our focus is then to target other developing economies outside of Africa." Researcher for News Central Abdulateef Ahmed is still with me. So ServiceMyCar, you put in what you think is the issue or maybe the type of car, and you instantly get 5 quotations from workshops in your area. So this is really cutting out the need for one to either move around to, or secondly, feel like you're stuck with a particular mechanic or workshop because you can't figure out where to go elsewhere. This is a fantastic idea.
Totally fantastic, and it is not surprising because South Africa is about, I think, the third highest user of fintech solutions in the world. And so when all of this begin to pop up in South Africa, it is a given. And it is really doing something for users, providing solutions for people who need these solutions. And so it is a good thing for users of automobiles and for the industry in general, because you will not need to continue to think too hard about how to solve problems, or having to drive around, checking from one point to the other, or unsure of costing. You can do your estimations and, run your payments a lot easily.
So what I found interesting is that this is a startup that is a technical solution or technological solution to a problem in the automotive industry, and that is identifying that independent car workshops and networks are highly underrepresented. But something interesting that they said struck out to me: unstructured marketplace. Across the continent, we have many similar things, and marketplace is not necessarily going to the market, but it's that industry or that sector, and mechanics and workshops. That's an unstructured marketplace. And I see also that they're planning to come to Nigeria, which probably has one of the most unstructured mechanical situations anywhere. So when you look at what they're doing and you look at them attempting to come into a country like Nigeria, where so many things are unstructured, so many things are not regulated, you can't just go on a website and find so many mechanics and their prices. How do you think they would be able to adapt to the context, the Nigerian local context as it may be?
Yeah, so Nigeria provides a business nightmare for people who are not still ready, to face the challenges here. But one of the areas of interest that may help is the area of the sensors we are talking about, the fact that you can actually get people's details from, say, their national identification, their car registrations, and all of that. It provides you with a basic for which you can create a database and say, okay, these persons use this kind of vehicles. So you can run some assumptions. You can run some projections about the number of certain vehicle types and what vehicle components are used to getting most replaced. For which you will say, okay, you would rather have this manufacturer on ground, this manufacturer connected to a solution like this. So it's going to provide for a lot of problems that will need a lot of thinking to get solutions to.
Okay, and it's of course interesting that it's going to also help those in the unregulated markets, in the unstructured market, also have a ready clientele, ready customer base. Abdulateef, Ahmed, thank you so much for joining me on this edition of Business Edge. And of course, we've been talking about a number of startups. It's been very much a good week for startups across the continent. Kuda has been one that has been very successful. We've also talked today now about ServiceMyCar as well. And just a few days ago, we had an interesting interview with the CEO of Fire Media, and his name is Gobert Kairos. Now, we want to give you a snippet of that because that interview, full interview, will be live on our YouTube channel today. So let's take a quick look at that. We hear people say startup, 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 but for a technical definition that we'll use in this conversation, by your definition, what is a startup?
So startup essentially is a company that is essentially forming from the idea phase, moving on to acquiring customers. Once you get through the rapid growth phase, where the product market fit is established, and you're a bit more mature, you're kind of considered an SME at that point. So a startup essentially is any venture or entity that is trying to get off the ground, holistically speaking.
How long can you stay a startup?
For me, it's not defined by time as much as it is by your growth, launching and trying to provide service. If you're still a startup 6 years and you don't have any growth, at that point, I think you're more of a micro enterprise, or maybe it's just not a viable business.
How do you think startups can get around the financing?
There's a relationship aspect to it, especially in our side of the market where you don't have a lot of data to do due diligence on the person. You really have to come out early and communicate not just your idea, the value proposition, of the venture you're trying to launch. You really have to sell yourself. You really have to convince the person to part with their money, and that you are the best steward to execute on this idea, and you'll generate value. Personally, one of the biggest things I weighed in, when I went into looking at investing, I focus kind of pre-seed and seed stage. Is really focused around, I call them 3 M's. It revolves around the management, the market, and around the M&A, or is there an exit possible? And I weigh a lot on the people side, because the best asset of any company or organization is people, right? If you have a great team, they'll be able to overcome a lot of things. Educate your potential audience about what you're actually trying to do in a layman term.
Okay. So startups like Paystack and Kuda and startups across the continent, there's a lot of attention. So that's definitely an interview you want to check out on our YouTube page. Now, before we wrap things up, this is NC4 to watch.